Before we get into today's video, I did want to let you guys know that this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody, everywhere, in your everyday life, in your home, in the store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all have had a wonderful week so far. We are at the end of June. Okay, I'm done saying this. This is absolutely nuts. Nevertheless, I told you guys I'm going to hound you about this, and I'm going to keep my word. Are y'all getting outside? Are you getting some fresh air, some sun on your face? I mean, last year was so weird. It's the summer of 2021. Get outside. 15-minute walk. Yeah, this is your reminder. Okay, so in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Jennifer Pan story. I've heard it pronounced two different ways. I'm just going to go with Pan because I'm country and it's just Jennifer Pan. That's just how I would say it at home. But I've heard it pronounced both ways, Pawn and Pan. Now, this is another Patreon request. Shout out to the Patreon family. My Patreon link is always in the description box if you're 18 and up and you would like to join, but let's keep moving here. So the story about Jennifer Pan, have y'all heard about this story? This is a very emotional story, I think, for me, as much as I researched, because I have actually never related to a story so much in so many different ways. Like, I relate to the young girl, I relate to the parents, I feel like there's so much that's relatable in this story. Nevertheless, you guys, I'm going to do like I always do. I'm going to tell y'all the whole entire story first, and then at the end, I'm going to add some final thoughts and then give y'all my opinion. Now, people got very serious opinions on this case, and I'm probably going to have, yet again, another unpopular opinion, but make sure you stay to the end if you would like to find out. So let's just start at the beginning. Jennifer Pan was born in June of 1986 in Canada. She lived in the home with her mother and her father and her younger brother, Felix. Jennifer's brother, Felix, was just 3 years younger than her. She was the oldest and also labeled the golden child of her family. Jennifer's mother's name was Bick and her father's name was Han. They both immigrated from Vietnam. Her father actually was born and raised in Vietnam. He went to school. He finished all of his school from there, and then he moved over to Canada. And then her mother, Bick, would actually move a little bit later. Their parents did meet while they were in Canada, and they hit it off right away and got married. That was back in 1979. Now, because of Jennifer's parents' upbringing and how hard they had to work and their culture that they were used to back in Vietnam with their family, when they immigrated over to Canada, they worked so hard. They were very frugal. They saved dang near every dime that they had, and they were really just trying to live their dream out. To Jennifer's parents, success and image and hard work was of the top importance to them. How other people saw them was very, very, very important, and they worked hard to give their two children a life that they didn't have. They wanted them to have opportunities and schooling and careers and just all of these opportunities that they didn't have. I mean, like, what parent does not want that for their children, right? Well, in 2004, Jennifer's parents had saved up quite a bit of money, and they bought a large home with a 2-car garage in this really nice neighborhood. And it actually, in this neighborhood that they bought this home in, it had a very large Asian population. So they felt really comfortable and they wanted to be there around other people that they could relate to more. And I mean, they had worked hard. I mean, they had immigrated from Vietnam back in 1979. And now finally in 2004, they had saved up enough money to buy this nice, big home in this great neighborhood where they were going to be comfortable. One drove a Lexus and the other one drove a Mercedes. So they had saved all their money. They was ready to live very comfortably. And it was also said that they had $200,000 in savings at this time. So they bought this house. And I looked this house up online and I could not find the exact price to this house, but houses that were similar in this neighborhood in this part of Toronto, Canada, they're at $1.5 to $1.7 million homes. I mean, their homes there look very different for 1.7 than what you would get here in Florida, but still up there, very nice home, $1.7 million home, driving a Lexus and a Mercedes with $200,000 in the bank. I mean, they had saved and was frugal and had put the work in and were ready at this point in their lives. They were still working to relax and not have to stress so much about money. Because of all of the hard work that they had put in and coming over as immigrants and just starting over in a whole new country from scratch and being able to provide all that they were providing for their two children, they had very high expectations for Jennifer and her brother Felix. They knew what they wanted them to be in life, what they wanted them to go to school for, what kind of grades they expected out of them. Mr. and Mrs. Pan was actually described as tiger parents, and tiger parents, I guess, is a way that you describe very demanding parents, very strict, overbearing, controlling, high expectations, and it's their way or the highway type of parenting. When Jennifer was just 4 years old, she started playing piano and she showed a lot of promise. She was great at playing the piano. I could just see her 4 years old, just getting it. You know, she wears glasses, just pushing her little glasses up. And then as she became about 8 years old, she started to ice skate. And when she started to ice skate, she did so well. I mean, she was practicing every single day after school. Anything that she did, piano, she had to practice every single day. Now, ice skating, she practiced every single day after school. And even though she had dreams of being in the 2010 Olympics in ice skating, she tore a ligament in her leg and she was not able to skate anymore. So it just kind of crushed her dreams. She had put in all that hard work for so long, and just like that, it was gone. Nevertheless, she started playing flute in school and she was very, very good at flute. Everything that she did, like extracurricular activities, she was super good at. She made straight A's all through elementary school. And then when she got into middle school, straight A's as well. They said that she would go all day to school and then she would do band practice afterwards. And then she would come home and study. And she would study for her grades until like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. She was an overachiever and she really wanted to make her parents proud and make her parents happy with their very high expectations. So she made straight A's through middle school. She was in the band and all of this stuff. And then when she got to 8th grade and it was 8th grade graduation, Jennifer was expecting to get like all of these awards and be valedictorian. And unfortunately, she didn't get any. She didn't get a single award, a single ribbon. And that is when she said she kind of stopped caring. She felt like, why am I putting in all this work? Why am I staying up till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning studying? Why am I trying to get straight A's if it's really not going to get me anything? I'm wasting my time. But she said that at that point in her life, she just kept on her happy mask and kept on going and moved on to 9th grade in high school. Now, Jennifer in high school was described as 5'7", kind of tall, straight dark hair. She wore glasses. It was said that she rarely wore makeup. She was actually described as plain looking, but beautiful. She was a social butterfly. Everybody said she had a really high-pitched laugh, and she was the type of girl that could hang out with everybody. She hung out with the jocks. She hung out with the nerds. She hung out with people in bands. She hung out with other Asians and she hung out with all other groups. She could just get along with everybody. They said that they would see her in groups with all girls and then they would see her in groups with all guys. She was just that girl. She was also going to a Catholic school, which to her, she kind of enjoyed. Now, her father grew up Catholic. He was actually baptized Catholic at birth, but Jennifer's mother was a Buddhist. So she said that she kind of practiced both religions, but nevertheless, she went to the Catholic school because that's what her dad was and that's what her dad wanted. Now, with her parents being so strict, she was not allowed to go to any dances, any parties. She was not allowed to have a boyfriend or talk to boys in that way at all, not even in high school. And Jennifer would later say that even though she looked confident and outgoing, that really deep down inside, it was all a facade. It was a mask. It was her happy mask. She was riddled with self-doubt and feelings of inadequacy inadequacy and just never felt like anything she ever did was good enough. So in ninth grade, Jennifer's grades actually started to slip. Now, when I looked into this, to me, I guess her grades would not be bad. But to her parents, specifically her father, anything less than an A was unacceptable to him. Like, what, you're getting a B? Then you need to study more. You need to stay up later. You need to get off of the phone. You don't go hang out with your friends. She would go sometimes to go spend the night with like one of her girlfriends from school when her dad would allow her to. But when they would drop her off really late at night and pick her up first thing in the morning. So it's not even like she got a whole day or a whole lot of time to do anything. They were on her about everything. And so the grades was, again, the most important thing to them. So as Jennifer's grades started to slip, she started to lie to her parents. She started creating fake documents, fake report cards. She would photocopy other people's report cards and write it in and make it look like it was hers, like she was making straight A's, always making sure to add like an A- so it didn't look too suspicious. And she just faked it the whole time. But this is when we know that the serious lies with Jennifer would start. Jennifer continued this facade and lying to her parents about her grades. She would go to school and she would make mostly B's. However, because that was unacceptable to her parents, she photocopied and faked her grades all the way through high school. When she got into 11th grade, she met a guy that she would later become in a relationship with named Daniel Wong. Now, her and Daniel met while they were in band. He played the trumpet, she played the flute, and she just really connected with him. He became one of her closest friends. In 2003, their band went over to Europe for 2 weeks to play. And the story goes that they were playing in this auditorium over there in Europe and people were smoking a lot there and she had asthma and it was hard for her to breathe. So she started having a panic attack and Daniel comforted her. She actually would later even say that Daniel saved her life that day. So from that moment on, she said she started looking at Daniel in a different way and then they started dating. Now, Daniel is described much different. Daniel was 1 year older than her. He was described as very goofy, funny, outgoing as well. He liked to smoke. As a matter of fact, later he would get in trouble in his senior year in that same school for getting pulled over and the cops finding a half a pound of green in his car. And so he was selling a little stuff on the side, going to this school, and but everybody liked him. He had a lot of friends and Jennifer was smitten with him. While she was in high school, she got an offer from Rider University to go to their university program there at their school. However, when Jennifer got into the 12th grade, she failed her calculus class. And when she failed her calculus class, Rider University retracted their offer to her and basically said, "Now you can't come here." She was so upset and she did not want to disappoint her parents that she faked it to her parents and pretended like she was still going. And because she failed her calculus class, she actually didn't graduate. So to her parents, she faked it all. She told them she graduated with honors and these straight A's, and now she was going to this Rider University when really she was doing none of this. So she would get on the bus every day and act like she was going to school, and she would really just sit in coffee shops or go hang out with her friends. And she even went to the extent of buying used books for these classes that she was telling her parents she was in, and she would go to the public library and get on their internet and take notes and come back home in the evenings and show her parents the notes she was taking while she was at school. And this went on for years. This wasn't no 2 or 3 months, honey. She was doing this for years. Jennifer's father wanted her to go into medical school. He actually wanted her to be a doctor, but he eventually accepted the fact that his daughter Jennifer did not have the stomach to be a doctor, so he advised her to go and be a pharmacist. So during this time, she is telling her parents that she's going to this Rider University, so she's waiting. She's doing all of her prereqs and stuff like that for 2 years, and then she's going to end up going into a pharmaceutical program. While she was pretending to go to school and hanging out at the coffee shops and going to the library and all of this stuff, her boyfriend, Daniel, had a job as a manager at this place called Boston Pizza. So Jennifer ended up getting a job there. So instead of going to school and other than like taking the notes and stuff, now she started bartending and serving at Boston Pizza with her boyfriend, Daniel. At this time, her parents still don't know anything about Daniel. They don't know it's her boyfriend. She's been going with him for like 2 years at this point, and her parents have no idea that she's got a boyfriend. She's working at a pizza joint. She's dropped out of school. She didn't even graduate high school. None of it. To them, this is their golden child. She is, graduated with honors and early acceptance into this university program, is going to end up being a pharmacist. It's a double life. Jennifer actually said that she looked at herself in third person in order to get through it. Like, she felt like that this part of her was not herself. And so that's how she was able to live this double life. After 2 years of going to this Ryer University, she told her dad that she was transferring to the pharmacy program. They were so proud of her. She was doing everything that they expected her to do. All of their hard work, all of their sacrifices as parents was finally paying off for them in their eyes. And they were watching their oldest child, their daughter, their golden child, literally walk out the dreams that they had set for her. As she started this pharmaceutical program, she started telling her parents that she really needed to be closer to the school. She had a friend that lived closer to the school named Topaz. And so she basically convinced her parents that she was going to go there Monday through Wednesday and stay at her friend Topaz's house. That way she had less time to commute and more time to study. And boy, her parents was like, I mean, come on. I mean, I could imagine as a parent too, like, that is so smart of you. Like, wow, like, what a great idea. But really, not only was she not going to school, she was spending those 3 days at Daniel's house. Now, at this point, Daniel lived with his parents, okay? And they constantly kind of not pressured her, but they wanted to meet her parents. I mean, Jennifer had been dating their son since 11th grade at this point. We're talking years, okay? And they did not know her parents. Daniel didn't know her parents because she was keeping up this total facade and this double life. I guess Jennifer got lie happy and got so super duper comfortable that she figured, well, you know what? I'm telling all these lies and all that. Why don't I just add some extra onto it to make myself look even better? Then she told her parents that she was going to start volunteering at a hospital called the Sick Hospital for Children. And she was going to be working there as a volunteer in order to help her program, in order to make her resume look better. And man, her parents were like, oh my gosh, like, you're amazing. They were so happy and they were so proud of her. However, it was all a lie as well. And when her parents started to get suspicious of her was when her parents followed her to the hospital one day because they noticed that she never had any scrubs. She didn't have any uniform. She didn't have a name tag. You know how they have at the hospitals, those things, a scanner to get in. She didn't have any of that to prove that she was working there. So when they followed her there, Jennifer caught on to it and saw that her mom was coming into the hospital looking for her. So Jennifer went into the hospital, ducked into a room, and hid there for a long time until her parents finally left. Not long after that, her parents would call Jennifer's friend Topaz that she was supposed to be staying at for those 3 days that I was telling you guys about. And her friend Topaz had forgot what day it was. And Topaz told her parents that Jennifer wasn't there. And that's when they realized, like, okay, things are just not adding up, sister. So they called Jennifer home and sat her down to have a talk with her. At this point, Jennifer broke and she told her parents mostly everything. She told them that she wasn't actually going to university and that she had been staying with her boyfriend Daniel the whole time and that she wasn't actually volunteering and she did not want to disappoint them in any way and that it was all a lie. And I cannot imagine as a mom, like, again, this is for years. It's not like your child has lied to you and said that they were going, to McDonald's for ice cream and they really went to the club. We're talking about full on taking notes, coming home with books. And you guys might wonder, well, who was paying for her college? I mean, she forged documents saying that she got scholarships, she got loans. I mean, she went all out with these lies to her parents and was living it right in front of them. And at this point, she's 22 years old. This had been going on for just the college stuff for 4 years. 4 years. So of course, naturally, her parents absolutely flipped out. I mean, as a mom, I can imagine it was probably like, what? None of it was true. Her parents, however, blamed everything on Daniel. It's that boy, it's him, it's his fault. They had never even met him. And Jennifer was so upset about this because she basically said, like, they judged him without even knowing him.
But once my father found out, without even knowing him, he automatically put judgment.
What kind of judgment did your father pass on him?
He blamed my lying and even racial profiling.
That broke her even more. So at this point, her parents gave her an ultimatum. They said, you can choose Daniel or you can choose us in school. If you choose Daniel, bye. Get out of this house. You're not coming back. Basically going to disown you. If you choose us, you have to get rid of him. You can't have him as your boyfriend anymore. And you're going to have all of these new rules. She chose her family, and she would later say that the reason why she chose her family was because family always comes first, which so difficult, but we'll get there, more of that later. Anyways, when she chose her parents, she decided to stay there. They took her cell phone. You guys, she's 22 years old, okay? They took her cell phone. They gave her a 9 o'clock curfew. They limited her internet at home unless it had anything to do with like school or something like that. And the only thing that she could do was go to work because she was teaching piano at this point, and they did allow her to do that. I mean, they had her on strict rules. And of course, they forbid her to ever see Danny again. Jennifer would sneak behind her parents' back to call Daniel, and she really loved him. And I just can't imagine at this point in her life, which she probably, and this is my assumptions, you guys, I'm putting in here, but she probably felt like nothing that she ever did was good enough for her parents. So therefore, she had Daniel, who always had her back, and I would assume encouraged her and made her feel like she was doing things that were right. And then that was probably like her lifeline, was her boyfriend at this time. I mean, they had been together over 6 years at this point. I mean, she's 24. Well, probably at least 7 years. Nevertheless, at 24 years old, she was still sneaking to see him, and he got tired of it. He was like, I can't live like this with you. I don't want to be your secret. I'm going to move on. And Daniel broke up with her. And when he broke up with her, she was devastated. She was like, she didn't know what to do anymore. Her dad would actually later say that he told Jennifer that she could not be with Daniel until her dad was dead. When Daniel broke up with Jennifer, they continued to talk as friends, but Daniel moved on. He got a new girlfriend named Christine. And this, I mean, can you imagine? This is your boyfriend 7 years. You broke up because of your parents, and then he moves on automatically and gets a girlfriend. She was infuriated. She was so mad, she did what she did best, and she started making up stories. She would call Daniel and started crying one day and said that, somebody came to her house and he showed a badge and he pretended like he was the police, and she opened the door and he barged in with other people and they gang-R'd her. You guys know what that is. Gang raped without the G. Her, and she told Daniel that it was Christine, his girlfriend, that orchestrated the whole thing. She also told her boyfriend Daniel that she was getting all these threatening letters and that people were sending her bullets in the mail, and she knew that it was Christine. She was trying to break Christine and Daniel up, although actually Daniel was telling her at this time that they were just friends, but she knew, as well as everybody else knew, that Daniel and Christine were in a relationship. I heard an interview where Jennifer was saying that, I guess via social media, Christine and Jennifer would talk, and Christine would tell Jennifer, like, leave Daniel alone. He's my boyfriend now, and you need to leave him alone. And she was basically like, no, I'm never going to leave him alone. So it was a bunch of drama between them. But can you imagine like making up a story that bad that somebody burst into your house and did that to you and blaming it on somebody and none of that being true? Like, just when you think the lies can't get any worse or any deeper, or your conscience is checked out, something like that comes up and it's like, okay, girlfriend, like you taking it way too far. At this point, Jennifer just could not stand knowing that Daniel had moved on and he was with another girl. Daniel actually even got her like a little burner phone so they could talk. So even though he had this girlfriend, he was still very much talking to Jennifer, which was keeping her stringing along. And as time was going on and he was spending all of his time with this new girl, and she was at home with her overbearing parents, feeling inadequate and nothing was ever good enough. It was just building inside of her, the rage she could not ignore. She soon found out that her parents actually had a life insurance policy that would take care of her, and I'm assuming her brother too, but specifically her, if anything was to ever happen to her parents. It was over $500,000, and she started thinking, her dad did tell her she could not date Daniel or be with him or talk to him until he was dead. So in the beginning of 2010, as Jennifer had been sitting in her room for so many hours thinking of how she could fix all of her problems in her life. She remembered that she had a friend in elementary school who always bragged about like hitting licks and robbing people and beating people up and stuff. And so she reached out to him. His name was Andrew. Now, Jennifer would also say that she specifically remembered Andrew saying when they were younger that he wanted to kill his dad. And so she was thinking like, okay, this is my guy. She met up with Andrew and she asked him to kill her father. And he agreed to do it. And he was going to do it for $1,500. So Jennifer gave him $1,500 and he was supposed to kill her dad in the parking lot of his work when her dad was getting off of work one day. Well, he didn't show up. He took her money and he ran and he left. And she was devastated. She was looking for him everywhere like, hey, I don't want that $1,500, but hey, you're supposed to get my dad. But he disappeared on her, so she was out of luck there. However, in the summer of 2010, Daniel and Jennifer started talking, and she's just started telling Daniel, like, I need to get rid of my parents. I've got this life insurance policy, like they won't let me see you. I don't want to if I leave at this age and at this time, I have nothing without them. I've been living here this whole time, and like, we need to get rid of them. How can we get rid of them? And Daniel and Jennifer start trying to come up with a plan to kill her parents. Daniel went and got a new SIM card for Jennifer's cell phone that he had got her. And this SIM card for this phone was going to be for them to talk about their plan only. That way it could not be traced back to them and they could have these conversations. Daniel introduced Jennifer to a friend named Linford Ray Crawford. Now, when she got to talking to him, he said, yeah, I'll do it. No problem. I'll kill your parents for $20,000. But then he said, you know what? Since you're a friend of Danny's, I'll do it for only $10K. So now her wheels are going like, yes. So she starts coming up with this plan with him. Okay, I can give you this much up front. You can do this. And then once I get the life insurance money, I'll pay you back the rest, And he was like, bet. I got it. This is a great idea. So they come up with this whole entire plan as like a home invasion type of thing and kill her parents. On November 8th, 2010 was the day. It was go time. A bunch of different things had happened during that day. Jennifer's father had went to work like he typically does. He got off of work. He actually was late getting home that evening because he said that he forgot to lock something up at work or turn something off, so he had to go back and come back. When he got home, Jennifer's mom was actually even bickering with him a little bit, like, you didn't call me and tell me that you were going to be late getting home. When he got home and took a shower and relaxed to watch TV, Jennifer's mom left to go dancing with her friends. She went out dancing, had a really good time, came back home, and the two parents went to bed. This whole time, Jennifer, whose room was in the upstairs area, was talking on the phone with one of her friends. She was chit-chatting on the phone, and she knew that it was getting close to go time to when the hitman was supposed to come into the house. She took her bedroom light, she flickered it a couple times to let them know that the door downstairs had been left unlocked and that her parents were in the room sleeping. And right before 10 p.m. on November 8th, 3 armed men entered the house of Jennifer Pan and her parents. Now, this time her brother Felix was actually away going to school, and it was just her there with her 2 parents. The 3 guys came into the door. They immediately went into the room where Jennifer's parents were sleeping. They had their guns drawn. They busted in. They woke them up. They drug them down to the basement, started asking them, where's the money? Where's the money? Their parents told them where their wallets were. They had a little bit of cash in their money in their wallets. They had the mother downstairs in the basement, and they shot her 3 times. They shot her in the shoulder. They shot her in the head. And then they shot her. The last one was like an execution style straight through the back of the head. And that is what killed Jennifer's mom. She laid there on the floor. And then at some point, they brought Jennifer's father over to where the mother was, and he saw his wife laying there dead. And they shot Jennifer's father in the right shoulder and in the right side of his head. And I actually read that it went through his eye, that he was shot in the eye part of his head, like, oh my gosh. The guys would later finish like ransacking the house. They went into the nightstand that was next to their bed. They found another $1,000+ there, and then they ran out of the house. The whole entire ordeal took about 18 to 19 minutes. Now, after they left, Jennifer managed to call 911 because at this time, she said that these robbers that came into the house in this home invasion that shot her parents ran upstairs to where she was, took some sort of tying object, tied her to the banister, and tied her hands behind her back. Well, she couldn't get loose, so she didn't know what was going on downstairs.
It was, you lied to us. You lied to us. And then I heard 2 pops. My mom screamed. I yelled out for her. And a couple more pops.
Take your time. Take your time.
She did manage to wiggle a phone out of her back pocket, call 911, yell into the phone after the 3 guys were gone.
What's your name?
My name is Jennifer.
Someone just broke in?
Someone broke in and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
Did it sound like gunshots?
I don't know what a gunshot sounds like. I just heard a pop.
Right around this time, though, Jennifer's dad woke up. Although he had been shot in the right shoulder and the right side of his head, he miraculously was still alive.
I'm okay. My dad just went outside screaming.
Do you think your mom is downstairs too?
I don't hear her anymore.
He crawled up the basement, out the door, and one of his neighbors was actually that late, like almost 10:30 at night, was getting ready to leave for work and saw him and called 911 immediately. The cops swarmed, they got there, and they pronounced Jennifer's mom dead on the scene, and they transported her father to the hospital immediately. They got Jennifer. Jennifer was freaking out, crying, oh my gosh, my parents, da-da-da-da. They get her dad into surgery immediately, and then they induce him in a coma because they don't know if he's going to make it. I mean, he's been shot in the head. He's been shot twice. The mother's dead. And then now they have this poor young girl who has just seen basically her parents be killed. And so after they check her out, make sure she's okay, they take her down to the station for questioning. Now, she would later be interviewed multiple times. The first time they interview her, they are only interviewing Jennifer as a witness to the crime. She's the only one that's coherent enough to talk about what happened. They had no suspicions on Jennifer at this time that she was involved in any way. As time went on, news got out. I mean, there was newspaper articles that I read said home invasion, one woman killed, and it was all like that type of thing. 3 armed people came into the house, home invasion, nobody knew who they were, to rob this family, went to go kill them, and miraculously let the girl upstairs live. On November 14th, the day before the funeral of Jennifer's mom, Jennifer's dad woke up out of his coma. When he woke up out of his coma, he remembered everything. Of course, the investigators immediately came to talk to him to see how he was. Had he seen anything that could possibly help them figure out, who had done this to them? He told the investigators that his daughter was talking very friendly to these 3 robbers. As a matter of fact, she came down into the basement where they were multiple times and was just talking friendly to them. She was never tied up or anything. And this is when the investigators went from like, wait, hold up, what? This is when she went from poor witness to main suspect. Nevertheless, they let her stay out while they continued to gather information. And Jennifer went the next day on the 15th to her mother's funeral. And here's pictures here of her at the funeral with her brother while he's holding his mom's picture. It is said that she didn't shed a single tear at her mom's funeral, which, probably because she knew that she's the one that basically killed her mom, but you would think she would at least fake it, but she didn't. She went there and didn't. She acted sad, but she didn't shed a single tear. And on November 22nd, they arrested Jennifer. Now, in between that time, they interrogated her many more times. And I'm actually going to leave a video linked down below of Jim Can't Swim's video because they really did a great job dissecting her interrogations. Shout out to Jim Can't Swim. literally the best people ever. And I'm so thankful for you guys. Like, you're awesome. Anyways, during her third interrogation, they broke her down. I guess in Canada, they have a different way of interrogating people. They can actually just straight up lie to you there, which I thought they could do that here too. I mean, I really did think they could do that here. But anyways, the investigators told her that they knew everything and that they had this sort of like computer technology that could tell when you're lying and tell the truth and all this stuff, and just told her a bunch of lies. And it made her say, okay, I did hire these guys, but I hired these guys to kill me, not my parents.
I told him that I wanted to be killed.
And did he think that was something crazy?
He said, are you sure that's what you want? And I said, yes.
Because I don't think many people get that request. Do you?
No, but that's what I wanted. And he asked me over and over just to make sure I was sure. And I said I was sure.
Okay, so what did you ask him to do then?
Come take me out and then leave.
Okay. Why did they do it when you were, when your parents were there then?
Never alone. In the nighttime.
Okay.
Of course, the investigators did not believe it. As they talked more to her father, they found out about all of her lies through high school and stuff, and they just realized that she just lied about everything. She just lies constantly, and they can't trust anything that she says. Jennifer was charged with the murder of her parents, including conspiracy to plan it, commit it, and all of that stuff. And then in 2011, all of the other guys were arrested. Daniel was arrested, and the 3 hitmen were arrested. Now, they got that phone. Remember that phone that I was telling y'all about that Daniel got her, that he had a different SIM card so they could talk? Well, she got rid of the SIM card, but she did not get rid of the phone. The investigators were able to find all the text messages that were made on that phone, even though there was no SIM card in it. So they found thousands of text messages. I want to say 200 being like all the way right up until the moment of the 3 guys coming into the house. The investigators even pulled security footage from a neighbor's house and saw the light flicker that I was telling you about, which was a signal to the 3 guys that they could come in. And seconds after she did the light flicker, she texted VIP access. I mean, so it all sealed her fate. Now, everybody pleaded not guilty at first. I mean, it was a whole entire trial. Jennifer's brother got up there and had to testify, and I felt so bad for him because, and I tried to find pieces of the court. I could find recordings of the court, but I could not find actual videos of the trial, but I did read a bunch of stuff, and the brother was seriously affected by it. I mean, other than losing his mother, who, mind you guys, when I'm telling this story, the mother was the one that was softer to the kids versus their father. Their father was very, very stern and strict. The mother was strict too, but more of like a listening to what her husband said. And so he lost his mom and lost his sister and almost lost his dad. And he believed all of his sister's lies all those years. He actually believed that she had went to college and was doing all this stuff because he was away at college. I mean, he wasn't there to see anything that was going on. So he believed his sister, his only sibling. And because he got up there and said that he did believe her all those years, not that he believed her then, but he did previously, all these articles were written up about him that he believed his lying murderous sister and all of this stuff. And it really affected his jobs. It affected his reputation, and he had nothing to do with anything, wasn't even living in the house. It was just so sad. The father would later get up there and testify, and he basically just admitted everything that we already knew as far as saying what he would tell his daughter about, you know, he gave her an ultimatum not to hang out with Daniel or be around Daniel anymore. And later, all of Jennifer's family put a no contact order on her, so Jennifer could never speak to any of her family anymore. And she was found guilty. She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 25 years. However, the last thing that her father ever said to her was at her sentencing, and he said, "I hope while you're in there, you think long and hard about what you did." Like, Can you imagine? So devastating. The other 4 guys were convicted as well. And I saw different things. I saw one article that said everybody got life in prison. I saw an article that said one of the guys got 18 years in prison. Very conflicting information, but nevertheless, everybody ended up getting sentenced and punished for these crimes. Now, Jennifer is still in prison. She is up for parole in year 2039, and she will be 49 years old when she gets a possibility of parole. Like, wow. Wow. I read some articles about the father, and he said his whole life has been ruined, is basically what he said, which I can imagine. Like, devastating. He said he lost his wife and his daughter in the same day, which absolutely. But he also said that he has nightmares and that he cannot work anymore. He has panic attacks. He has severe PTSD, and he rarely leaves his house. So now he's like a very much older man, and he's in his house all the time, doesn't leave, panic attacks. Oh, I just can't imagine, like, you know, like when that happens, when you're woken up out of your sleep like that, in that situation. I mean, if you can't trust your own daughter, your own brother, like not to you know, like, how will you ever have friendships again after that? Any of you guys out there that have ever been stabbed in the back by a friend? I know I have. I mean, if you've really been stabbed in the back, not meaning like maybe just a friend like calling you a name behind your back, but like somebody like really plotting against you and trying to hurt you or being evil or something, that junk changes you as a person. Like, you look at everybody afterwards, like, are you like that person too? Are you like that person too? But when you have your child, the person that you sacrificed and tried to do everything for and give the best life to, literally try to kill you guys, like, how do you have friendships after that? It has to be so difficult. And I mean, I know it can be done. I'm not saying it's impossible. It can be done, but I'm just saying that, like, I can definitely see how he is still struggling to this day. And of course, his brother too, with the reputation. The house, I read an article that said that he was not able to sell the house. I don't know if he sold it at this point, but he couldn't get anybody to buy it because there had been a murder that had taken place in that house. And I even saw documentation to where they were trying to change the number of the house. That way it didn't have the same address, because, you know, if you're going to go buy a house, you see a house is for sale, you know, you Google that house and then you find all these like murder stories and you're like, hold up, do I really want to buy this house and live there? So like, they just been through it. Like, the things that Jennifer did and planned, and the other people were involved too, but this is Jennifer Pan's story, is affecting everybody to this day. Final thoughts, questions, and opinions. Okay. The whole graduation thing. Did they not, you know, did the parents not wonder why she didn't walk? Do you guys do that in Canada like we do here in America, where when you graduate, you walk in a cap and gown and you do the whole 9 yards? Maybe you guys don't do that in Canada, but that would be my concern with, like, why didn't she walk? And why, I mean, then again, they did immigrate from another country, so maybe they were not aware of what, you know, people do in other countries. I mean, like, again, it's Canada, so I don't know if y'all do that too. So I have questions about that. I just do. Another thing is that she ended up killing the parent, which, not that either one of them should have been killed. Okay, you guys, obviously not. But she ended up having the one killed that actually did not, like, her father was the one that was the most stern. The brother would even speak out later, and he spoke about it in court and said, yeah, my father was very strict. He was very demanding and very strict, but it's nothing that you couldn't live with. That was his opinion. I know things affect people in different ways. Now, there are very differences of opinions of this. I was going through different Reddit forums on this Jennifer Pan story, and there are people, I mean, there's even psychologists that have spoke up and said, I have dealt with kids for many years that once they're raised like this, I saw one where the doctor said that, you know, if you have a puppy and you beat the puppy and you starve the puppy, eventually the dog's going to grow up and bite you. So there's a lot of people that are on Jennifer's side by saying the way that they treated her, specifically her dad, how demanding and overbearing and, you know, strict that he was on her. It's my way or the highway. You know, it's you do it this way or you get out, you're dead to me type of thing. You know, they could see how she could snap and do this. And then you have other people that says, no, you've always got another option, right? My opinion is I feel for both of them. And I know that this is not popular because it's very one side or the other. The parents, believe it or not, I really feel for the parents. Do I think that they did things wrong? Yes. Do I think that the father was too much? Yes. But I also remember that they are from a different culture. You know, like family stuff may be different over there. I don't know. All of my Vietnamese friends out there, you guys, is the culture more like that over there? I think the problem and the disconnect may be having a culture this way and then moving to another culture and raising your children, Felix and Jennifer, in this culture. They don't know that culture, but trying to raise them like that. Ugh. And I feel for them because as a parent too, that has been through a lot and has gnawed and kicked and screamed and clawed my way to where I'm at right now. I just want to give my kids a better life. However, I also see in my kids that they don't have the experiences that I have, so they don't necessarily see things the way that I see them. And I have to constantly check myself. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have to constantly check myself about it because me growing up with nothing, I appreciate everything like to the 1,000th power. Like every little thing means the world to me. I'm so grateful. And my kids have grown up with nothing to worry about. I'm not going to say everything, but like they've never worried about a roof over their head. They've never worried about food in their belly. They've never worried about if they're loved. Like they don't have those worries that I had. And so like when I work really hard and I give them stuff, and I'm not talking about like physical items. I'm talking about like maybe if we go on vacation or this, like they're just so used to it. And that bothers me. I'm not going to lie. But then again, I have to remember they don't have nothing to compare it to. I've worked hard to give them this life for a reason. And now that they have it, now I'm mad that they're not like overly zealously grateful, which they should be. They sure should be. We go into Disney World, boy, you better jump up and down and act like you ain't never been there before. I'm like, hold it. Do you know what I had to do when I was a kid? You know, I'm that person. So I have to so I feel for the parents because I know what it's like to come from nothing, work your butt off to give your kids everything, and then for them to just kind of be like, And then I also feel for Jennifer because at the same time too, as a mom, she made bees. She worked hard. She had a passion that she was into, which was like music and piano and stuff like that. And she wanted to actually teach that, but that job wasn't good enough for her dad specifically. And like, you know how many kids nowadays have no passion, no drive, no nothing? They're like, not really interested in really anything. And Jennifer actually had stuff that she was passionate. I mean, she snuck behind her parents' backs to teach piano as a job, and her parents didn't know it because they thought she was going to school. She was doing that as well. I didn't mention that earlier in the video. And I think that that's amazing. Like, you know, and so I don't know. I just feel for both of them. It's such a hard situation. There's no winners. What do y'all think? Who do you side with? It's a lot. This is a lot. Let me know in the comments section down below. As always, my loves, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do not forget to like it. It's a free way that you can help your girl out. And until next time, I love you guys so very much. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye. Love you guys. Bye.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust.